All right, welcome back. Well, next week is Valentine's Day. And of course, there's going to be a lot of talk about showing love to your significant other, but it's also important to remember friendships. And today we're talking about building better friendships. Joining us with more on this topic is Michelle Esri, the owner of Full Well Neurofeedback and Counseling in Hoover. Thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me, Claire.
So, Michelle, first of all, tell us why friends are important. It's really important to have friends, but there's actually, a physical, mental, emotional reason why it's important to have friendships.
Yeah, there's a ton of research out there about this, which I think is super interesting. But one of the biggest studies that Harvard has done over years and years, like 50, 60 years of a study, has shown consistently that the people who have the longest and healthiest and happiest lives are the ones that have relationships, that socioeconomic status and all of kind of the things that we might normally associate with ease and comfort aren't actually as important for health and for longevity and for happiness in life as relationships are. We need them. It impacts our mental health, it impacts our physical health, it impacts how long we live, how well we live, how much we enjoy our lives. And so friendships are actually a really important part of living a healthy, long life.
With the advancement of social media and technology, a lot of people may think they have friendships online.
Mhm.
Does that count? Does that contribute?
Online friendships are useful, especially if you're limited in your ability to be able to interact with people, but it is not a replacement for in-person relationships, right? They aren't a bad thing. It's a nice thing to be able to easily connect with people virtually, but there is something different that happens in your whole body and your nervous system. I think I've said this on another time that we've talked, but our even all the way to a genetic level can be impacted through interaction with the people we respond to. We have something called mirror neurons that mirror other people in our lives. And we actually are changed through interpersonal relationship. And that doesn't happen virtually the same way that it does in person. Being with a person, having them put their hand on you is going to calm your nervous system, is going to help you feel better. Experiencing joy with reflection of that in another person actually influences you differently than it does in a virtual setting.
Oh, that's interesting. You may have mentioned the mirror neurons, and but it just triggered that. Like I didn't, I'd never thought about that before. So let's say you have a lot of acquaintances, but you really want to
Mhm.
build that friendship. What's your advice on that?
Yeah, building friendships, I'd say the number one thing to remember is you don't have to rush in. It doesn't have to happen immediately, right? For the most part, we will start with acquaintances and then we will begin to build trust over time, where we will share some parts of ourselves that will open up a little bit about maybe about our day-to-day lives. And then if somebody honors that and somebody is caring about that, they listen to you, they allow you to be you, those sorts of things, then you might open up a little more and share maybe hopes and dreams or something a little bit deeper. And then if people are honoring to that over time and they don't, criticize you or tell other people about it in a way that feels unsafe, then you might share a little bit more. And over time, those relationships, when you have time together, when somebody is listening to you and you're listening to them, so it takes a commitment, right? It takes a commitment to spend time together. It takes a commitment to take risks about sharing of yourself and then allowing that time for that to build that safety, that trust relationship that will deepen over time.
Absolutely. You've got some tips about how we can be better friends. I want to show some of these graphics here. Just talk about how we can build better friendships.
Yeah. You know, some of what we just said, but to be a little bit more specific, listening is really huge, right? Like it's really important that you have somebody who's listening to you and that you are listening to them and not just, you know, paying attention a little bit, but actually listening to what somebody's saying, asking questions about it, engaging with them. Another thing that's really important is not expecting them or desiring them to be different than what they are. I'm not saying that if somebody doesn't have a bad habit in a relationship that you can't talk about that, but that's different than wanting somebody to be different than how they are, wanting them to fit inside a box so that they could be the right kind of friend for you. That's not actually a healthy way to build friendships. That's a healthy way to build, plastic people.
Yeah.
That's not mutual relationship. Another thing is being a trustworthy person, right? somebody shares something deep with you and you go and tell everybody about it and criticize them when they talk about it, they're not going to want to share with you anymore, right? Like, so it takes
Mhm.
integrity on your part to recognize, I want to build this relationship. I want to listen. I want to care about them. I want to allow them to be themselves, but I also letting them reflect that same thing to you, right? It isn't a healthy relationship if you're always giving either. It's really important that they also are listening to you, that they are also caring for you, that they are also, I guess, engaged in mutual trust.
Right, absolutely. And being the friend that you want, that you would want to be and want to have as
Yes.
well. Michelle, these are some great tips here. We appreciate you joining us. I feel like this is such an important topic, especially around this month of love. And we are talking about significant others and
Mhm.
how we can really make these friendships flourish. So we appreciate you being with us today. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Claire.